Some of the most interesting games right now aren't coming from big studios. They're coming from people taking risks. And that's exactly what makes Saint Slayer so interesting. Because this isn't a game that's chasing live service tropes. It isn't a game that's trying to look hyper-realistic, and it's definitely not trying to appeal to everyone. This is something much more focused. A throwback to the kind of games a lot of us grew up with. Tight controls, high difficulty, zero hand-holding, the kind of experience that's honestly a little unforgiving. But when it clicks, it really clicks. And that's by design. Saint Slayer comes from Lilymo Games, a small indie studio that's been quietly building a name for itself with games that prioritize feel, precision, and old-school design over modern trends. But what makes this even more interesting is who's behind it. Colin Moriarty, founder of Last Stand Media and host of Sacred Symbols, the greatest gaming podcast on the internet, and someone who's spent years talking about games, breaking down the industry, and criticizing what works and what doesn't. So I sat down with Colin to talk about his new game, Saint Slayer, the ideas behind it, and what the current indie landscape really looks like right now. Saint Slayer just came out, beat it in just under 2 hours or so.
Nice.
Loved it. Thought it was stunning, honestly. The music's fantastic, the design's fantastic, loved the pixel art. Loved, honestly, everything about it other than that it took me like under 2 hours to beat it. Because I wanted more, honestly. I wanted more bosses. I know, honestly, you're supposed to go back and you're supposed to do it again. There's multiple endings, which I'm going to do.
You played on normal?
Yeah, normal, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay.
I had trouble on, not really trouble, but where I died the most was the kitchen level. I just kept fucking falling in those stupid vats, or something would bump me and I'd just melt like an idiot. And then the first time I fought the donkey rider, I was like,
Sebastian.
My God. The whole time I was just yelling like, fuck you, fuck. And then I just thought, if I bring some aggression to him, he's easy, actually. You just keep go right at him. And I kill him in 5 seconds.
Yeah, he stays still at the beginning of the fight, so you can do a shit ton of damage to him. But the boxes are the key.
Yeah, the boxes, yeah. Which I missed every box. I just poorly timed every single time, like a moron. But yeah, I loved it. Right after I wrapped it up, I thought, man, if this could only go extra, like what's the next? Where does it go beyond this? Like, because I know you said on Sacred, you didn't want to pump too much story into it because then it kind of slows it down. And then it's not like an NES game like that doesn't have that type of deep story. So it doesn't really fit with what you're trying to do there. But to me, it just felt like if this could even just be double the length, I would have been like, so like, that's why it's like you got to do a sequel, you got to do a DLC. There's got to be a continuation of this.
Yeah, I mean, we're meeting today after I record with you to talk about what we want to do for the next game and start like thinking about it or whatever. It's funny, man, because the game is really, really hard for some people, and
I'm seeing that a lot.
And it's funny because we nerfed it a little bit. So like, you bring up the kitchen. Until like a month before the game came out, every vat in the kitchen was open. And so as we started having our playtesting with our friends, whatever, everyone's like, dude, the stage is so hard. So I think Josh drew like a quick asset, and Barry put like lids on some of the pots, which I'm sure you noticed. Not all of them, but so that stage was even harder. Some people are having a really hard time with the parapets, which is stage 19, the rainy stage.
Which only was really, it's more just like that level. I wish there was a checkpoint because you die right towards the end or like get knocked off, and I was like, I gotta go all the way back.
No checkpoints. It's built. I mean, it's built like Castlevania was in that Castlevania 1 in that. I don't know if you played CV1 or you obviously did because you're good at this game. So the doors and the stages in Castlevania act as checkpoints. But if you look at the top of every stage, it'll be like 1A, 1B, 1C. And we did a similar thing with ours. So really like the stages are in 3 groups, and the checkpoints are the start of the next stage, which would be where the door was in Castlevania. So it is a little unforgiving in that sense, but we have the password system a la CV2 and 3, and you can't account for difficulty in the games, especially like I've beaten Saint Slayer, no joke, I don't know, 30 or 40 times or something. So it's like I'm like nasty good at it, and so are the guys. Not because I'm a good gamer necessarily, but because I just know the game. I help make it, and you lose sight of that. And when we released Tribreaker, our last game, we actually had to nerf some of it when we released it because people were like, "This part is so hard," and it's like, and I'm like, we didn't know that. So it's cool to be able to fix those things on the fly and hotfix them or whatever. But yeah, it's cool, man. That you like some people. Some people can't beat the game. Some people it says like 4, 5, 6 hours. One person was saying like, I can imagine when you beat the game, you can do it in 15 or 30 minutes. And I'm like, 15 minutes would be completely impossible. 30 minutes, maybe.
You have to know all the exact places to do like that level where the exit is right above where you spawn.
Right,
You
yeah,
can go onto like the second platform and do a downward thrust, and it bumps you right up, like almost right at the beginning. But like you would have to have beat it, or I mean, I guess yeah, if it's a second playthrough, you could do stuff like that, but you'd have to know that for every level.
Yeah, Josh, the designer and artist, I think he found like 9 or 10 different ways to break that part. And we're waiting that, like, you see people were confused about the stage. A little bit of insight, like you'll see Otto, the boss, when you start that stage walking through the door above you.
Yeah.
We did that because people were confused about like
where do you go?
they were supposed to do. So, which makes sense because even when I first played the game, like in Gray Box, like I went all the way to the left and I'm like, the game, it's broken. And they're like, no, dude, like you got to go up and around. So we figured that out. And then, yeah, Josh was saying like he figured out all sorts of different ways up there. The key to that actually is when you beat the game once, you unlock the Raven Familiar, which you can buy in stage 1 from Lavinia. And then the Raven will hit the switches for you. So there's a switch above you right when you start that stage. And if you have the Raven, he'll just hit the switch and bring the elevator right down.
Wow.
You can skip. The big thing I think that will stand between people and beating the game mega fast is just the RNG necessary for bosses, especially like the Ancient One boss can take forever if you don't pull certain RNG.
There's a lot of RNG sprinkled throughout. It's hard to, there's even times where I'm waiting for a guy to pop out from the ground, like one of those kind of reddish mages that casts a spell. And it's like, he's not coming. When am I going to jump? He's not going to come. And then I jump and he pops up and I get knocked off. It's like, well, there's no real timing to a lot of those things that you would think. For example, like a speedrunner going through that, they know, oh, okay, if I wait a half second here, I can go. But it doesn't always work like that.
Yeah, Castlevania 1 has parts like the beginning, like with the zombies in Castlevania 1, the mermen and the bats that appear in the game are always like timed and or Medusa heads, like RNG specific, just like. But then there's other things that are set. We made it so that like if you scroll off stage or scroll off screen and then scroll back, the enemy returns, which is that used to be a product of RAM limitations. We don't obviously need to do that anymore. Our game is 250 megs, I think. So that would be the size of every NES game ever made, I think, multiplied by probably 10 or something like that. So certainly it's not playing by the same rules, but it's been interesting watching, and the game is just doing really well for us. So like we're excited about like the velocity of sales is great. It's already outsold Tribreaker. It took a day.
Awesome.
So not that Tribreaker sold very well, it didn't, but
is this the best-selling game for you guys so far?
Oh, not even close. No. I wish. I mean, after
is it on that trajectory? Maybe.
Yeah, like it's the velocity of it is good, and it's hard to say what we have like overall sales numbers for the games, and like so Habraxia 1, for instance, our arcade shooter was never $10, it was $7, and we've sold a bunch. Each of these games, I think Habraxia 2 is like our best-selling game, and that's sold many times more than Saint Slayer has sold at this point. But what's really important is gross income, or gross revenue, just because a lot of these games were sold for pennies. That's what makes it outselling Tribreaker pretty good too, because we eventually put Tribreaker on sale, but we announced here that we're not going to put Saint Slayer on sale for a year.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't need to be. So it's a great price already.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that Barry agrees. I mean, we kind of undervalued our games a little bit just in making them so accessible, and I don't blame people waiting for sales, but that's not the way new games are going to get made. So yeah, you have to hit both it's what Hollow Knight did, where it's like you hit that really appropriate sales price. Like I can't believe they charge. What do they charge? $20 for that game or whatever?
I'm in Canada, so everything fucking.
Yeah, well, our dollar. I do hate when people say that though. It's like, well, you're so cheap, it only costs you $10. I'm like, American dollars are not Canadian dollars, and they're not Australian dollars, and all that. It's like, come on, guys. So it's about finding that right price point and then keeping it and sticking it there, a la Nintendo, but just not at that premium price. So it's really about like gross revenue, and we're happy with it, and I want to. You don't want to say you want to exploit it or whatever, but it's like I was always critical of a studio like Yacht Club not pursuing Shovel Knight more heavily it was popular. I think it was so weird, and we're not going to do that. So we're already talking about like what we want to do next, the momentum for the game, or whatever.
Which is it's best to follow up on that. There's so many ways that you can take it, even like how you've said many times about Shovel Knight, about why didn't they do like an SNES type version or an N64 type version, or like
just Shovel Knight 2 in the NES style.
It's right there. Like what? How many Mega Man games are there? You can't have made. There could have been 8 Shovel Knights by now. It's like
it's weird. I find it weird. To each their own, but I think it's strange. So we don't want to. Not that we're selling anywhere near that level, but like we just want to make sure the momentum is kept. So we already are thinking about what's next for it, which is
nice.
Fun.
Awesome.
I want to get back to Habraxia as well. So it's like it is a.
What about the RPG?
Barry's gonna get upset talking about the RPG. Like it's a shame because first of all, a lot of it is done, and it's all written. Like the whole script is done. Like I wrote the whole idea, I wrote the characters, what would have been the demo of the game or whatever, and then we hired a writer to our friend Jono to write the actual script, like beat by beat script based on this huge. I had a big bulletin board and I had all of the
awesome
game laid out with the characters and everything and everything I wanted to do and what's it about. So like we've done a lot of work for it, but like the reality is that I think what we encountered was the level of assets you need for art assets you need for that game is incredibly expensive. We're already palette swapping enemies and doing things that you would do in an early 16-bit role-playing game, but we don't want to like do that to the extreme. So it's also about like having different artists work on things and keep things cogent. I think we just kind of bit off. I don't want to say bit off more we can chew. We can deliver the game. It's just like it's too much money and too much time. Like so, we need to build a repertoire of games that can create revenue for us to get back to it. I think it was just too ambitious for, and I would rather just not release it at all than release like a compromised version of it. Especially because, as one would be if you wrote it, I am incredibly proud of the story, and I think the story is like exceptional. And like what it's about is awesome.
Every time you talk about it, it sounds great, and then it's like,
yeah, I want to see it through, but like, yeah, but I've also been, and I appreciate it's like we don't want. I should have never started talking about it before it was ready. Totally, I actually went back and found a post. I think when we released Abroxia 2, which was 2021, I want to say. I found a post on Last Stand's Patreon being like, yeah, so like we're working on the role-playing game and it'll come out in like we had like 2022 or something. We had like all of these ambitious plans. So it's like we just spoke about it too soon. And it's something that I think not every developer, but many developers experience. You know, we also have like 10 other games or whatever that we're working on in dribs and drabs.
And
so it's just a matter of
whatever you do next with Saint Slayer as well.
Right. I think that will take the priority, but like we have, you know, we've talked about how we want to do a Abroxia prequel, which is largely done, and then it's a different sort of game. We'll see what happens with it in the future if we want to actually release it or not. And a proper Abroxia 3 sequel would be nice. And then new IP. I like Twin Breaker and Tribreaker. We're never going to go back to that. Perils, I don't think we'll ever go back to that either. So I think Saint Slayer will be. Yeah, it
definitely seems like what the direction to go. So in Saint Slayer, like I know you did the story, but how much actual of your experience playing those types of games went into the development of this game? Like, were you much more hands-on, or was that all the team at Lilymo and you were more just like crafting the world?
No, I mean, like, so we play the game constantly. Like one of the things that I like about Steam, I think Steam's a remarkable platform. I don't really use it as a consumer, but as a developer, like it allows us to share builds like on the fly. And Barry would upload new builds constantly, and so we play them, and we have a Discord where we all talk, and so we just have a constant churn of like they'll gray box the stage and then start designing it, putting assets in or whatever, and then we'll start talking about what we want to do. So we have Barry and there's game design, there's level design. I would say that those are both Barry and Josh, and then when you have people early in playtest or whatever, then a lot of your feedback ends up in the game. I've always talked about Abroxia 2, like the world map, which I think is one of the coolest parts of the game, actually, was my idea. And that came in like extremely late, like very, very late in the game. And so that kind of stuff happens. And like with this game, like a lot of boss behavior changed like really late, all sorts of things. So enemies became more buffed. Like it's funny hearing people talk about it because like we were afraid it was too easy.
I think it could have been harder. It could have been harder. Like even how the Moriarty mode, I haven't tried it yet, but I know you said like that's like the real mode almost, which I'm gonna dive into because I want that challenge. But seeing so many people saying like, oh, stage 4 is so hard, it's like stage 4 is for babies.
I agree. We it's funny because behind the scenes we've been hearing a lot about stage 5 specifically, which is the stage right before Guy-Horn, the donkey fight. Oh, and we were like, are people talking about stage 5, like the 5th stage, or are they talking about the 5th area? Which I think would be the kitchen, I think. Or maybe even like the lead up to, no, that would be the kitchen. Probably and like and the pantry, the larder, as we called it. So like we don't even really know what people are talking about, but it's interesting to see, like again, the conversation about difficulty is it's totally subjective, of course. We want to make the game accessible. I think we did a pretty nice job. Like I can beat the shit out of the game now on any mode. Like you played it on normal. I'd be interested to see what you think about it on hard and then classic. Not even Moriarty mode, but just classic. The enemies are much thicker. Like enemies are like, so a lot of enemy placement is replaced with harder enemies from later in the game. And then the whole password system is really cool too, where we inserted, and Barry had this idea. So like if you put in the code slippery, like you can slide endlessly. Or if you put in greed, the game plays like Sonic. where you have coins as your health, and when you get hit, the coins pop out of you and stuff. So there's like, there's all sorts of cool things that they did, and it's just so competitive out there that it's hard to.
Yeah, of course.
My friend Matt Cap, who made Lovish, which I think is just an absolutely astounding game. I was telling him, I'm like, these are the kinds of games. And I was talking about, I won't say my own game, but his game. I'm like, this would have literally sold 1 million copies in 2010 if it was on Xbox Live and like the July release, you know. And things are just different now. So if you sell 5, 10, 15,000 copies, you're pretty satisfied.
Oh yeah, my friend made like for a project to get into college or something. He made some game on Xbox Live Arcade. He made like maybe $10,000 of sales or something. It's like the game is any idiot can make that in 5 seconds practically. But it's like that was the competition back then.
Those were the glory days.
Yeah.
Not that I think the democratization of games is good to a degree. I think that it's cool that people can I like that there's a spectrum of marketplaces, and I like that Steam is like the libertarian, like anything goes marketplace. But I think that it needs to be like, I think there just needs to be closed marketplaces too, and PlayStation's turning more into that. I mean, they've quietly, we've talked about it, it's not a huge story, they've removed thousands of games this year on the store already, and it's good.
Yeah, it's absolutely good.
So when I was on PSN, and you go into like the upcoming, it's like it's the montage of all the games, like little block icons, and usually it'd be surrounded by bullshit, but this time Saint Slayer was actually like there, and it was surrounded by real games, and that was
that's
cool.
awesome.
So yeah, and PSN is our biggest platform, so it's important for us
I'm sure by far
to be there.
Are you seeing that it's like, is it double, triple, or whatever? On
no, it's actually, it used to be more substantial. Our Ben Smith, who used to work with us, who's doing PR for us for the game, had the recommendation, and I think it's a very canny recommendation, like a really good recommendation. It was like, you got to focus on Steam. And we did for the first time ever. We always put our games on Steam, but we just didn't really give a shit about Steam. We're all PlayStation people, so it's and Barry and I met because Barry's like a mega trophy whore. Barry has like more than 1,000 platinum trophies. And we met. Now a lot of them are corny platinums, as I'll remind him, but he was a real platinum guy, and so that's how we met in the first place. So yeah, like PSN is still the biggest, but I think, and I don't know, I mean, I have numbers, but I don't know when we're going to announce them, because we want to wait for like cool milestones or whatever. I'm trying to see. So like the ratio is probably like PSN is the biggest, but Steam is like, we've already sold more copies of Saint Slayer on Steam than we did Super Perils, Tribreaker, and it's close to Harbraxia 1's numbers. Wow. So
it is doing well.
Vita used to really help us too. And that's the one thing that, because everyone that was in the Vita space knew, like, if you released a game on Vita that was pretty good late in the Vita's run, people would buy it by the thousands. And I noted that. I'm like, dude, we kept using an old version of Game Maker, our engine, to keep making Vita games. Super Perils was going to be on Vita, but we missed the cutoff for certification. And I was saying on a show recently, like, I would love if they just did like surprise, like, well, you can't surprise everyone, but like say like this month, for like the month of May 2027, we're going to accept certification builds for Vita, and for 30 days we'll see if we can get new games up or whatever. I'd love something like that. Cool. It reminds me of I can't remember, of V Blank, the guy that made Shakedown Hawaii. And the game before it was even way bigger. But anyway, he released a PS3 version and a PSP version of those games. Crazy. Which I thought was super cool. And I would love to do something like that. And people ask us if we want to make an NES version of ours, which would be fun. But
there are releases that people do stuff like that.
It wouldn't work. It wouldn't run on NES.
No,
nothing about this game would run it.
Yeah, no.
Well, that's the tough. There are companies that do that. It's super cool that they do that. It's very hard to do that, and you really do have to play within the limitations of like, if you listen closely to the music, you'll realize that we're not using four tones. If you like, which would be the NES limitation. If you were looking at the color palette, you can immediately tell it's not an NES color palette. Yeah. So there are just certain things that don't work. Plus, Game Maker would never work on NES. Like the whole shell of it would be bigger than the game file. So I don't know. And I mean, not that I really am ever, like, actually a few days ago, I was like, something's broken in the game, and Barry sent me like the screenshot of the programming language. Like what do you see? And I'm like, dude, I don't know what the fuck
like
you're showing
C++.
me.
So yeah, it's like, what the
So it's not, I'm not going to pretend I'm in the engine often or anything like that, but yeah, I would love to go backwards and make all those games. It would be super cool and super fun. I don't know how that all works really, and I don't know that any of our games would really work without having to be like reverse engineered, and that's going to be expensive.
Yeah, it would be it's like developing a whole new game essentially.
Harbraxia 1 might run. I don't know. Even that game runs at like such a crisp frame rate. We would have to probably blink it and to get the frame rate to run better, and like a Mega Man game or something. So anyway, yeah, that would be a fun experiment in the future. We have all sorts of stupid things we want to do that wouldn't sell any copies. I as I say over and over again, like I really want to make a typing game, and that would be like one of the stupidest things to do, like from a sales perspective. But it's something I want, because we would never be able to sell them on the console, so it would be a Steam.
Oh, that's true, actually. Yeah, Steam. Yeah,
Steam
but that
exclusive.
game, I think Dustin talked about it on one of the Sacred episodes. I can't remember what it's called. I was playing it too. There was a beta for it, and I think it's actually out now.
Oh, the Battle Royale.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's
that's
a really,
super, I mean, that is a super cool idea.
and it's a great concept. It works really well, and it's like you're just typing sentences. Whoever types the fastest, you make a mistake, you get shot, or you don't get shot.
It's super fucking cool.
It's great.
I mean, that's such a good idea. Yeah, my idea would be, I've said it before, is like I envision like a role-playing game or something where like active battle, so something like Final Fantasy VII or something where like there are turns, but the time is still moving, so the enemies can just attack you over and over again. It's like you want to cast lightning, it's like type lightning.
Type lightning, yeah.
Type attack or whatever, and if you mess it up or don't type it quick enough or whatever, then like it's a blunder, like a D&D style one roll on a 20-sided die or something.
There's a game also called, I think, like Typing of Hell or something like that.
Oh,
I have
Typing
it
of the
on
Dead.
Steam.
Are you talking?
Is that the one it's kind of like a Resident Evil almost? And
yeah, that was a Dreamcast game, if that's the one you're talking about. That was like a very popular
Blood Typers.
Oh, Blood Typers, cool.
Yeah.
I never heard of that. Yeah, it's what I love is that there are others out there that also have this vision for typing games still. And I love the idea of us getting the Mavis Beacon IP, which I think would be so fun.
That would be so cool, yeah.
I gotta look into who owns that.
It can't be that much.
It's just it would be very funny if like it was like made into like a. It would be very funny to do that. Yeah. Anyway.
So that was a conversation with Colin, and I just want to thank him personally for coming out. I really appreciate him doing that with me, and thanks for everyone who watched. Please subscribe if you can. It would really help me a lot. And I got another video with Colin coming up soon, so be on the lookout for that.